All right. So we're trying to address the issue that we currently face now that we have a tractor for soil, which is that we have this edge case, which we're currently hitting, where we have a tractor order at 750 with significant capacity, 75,000, such that the behavior that we want is for the cultivation factor to increase over time to keep meeting this demand for soil until the order is sold out. The problem is that we lower the temp and increase the cultivation factor in response to the action of the automated sower via tractor, but then the temp goes down to 749 and there's no demand for soil at 749, and then the temp goes back up to 750, so the order will hit again, but the cultivation factor also comes back down, such that in practice the cultivation factor doesn't actually change for this sower. So that's the current problem. Maybe Frijo, you want to help me out? What was the solution that we said was the naive solution?
The naive solution was to set a flag when soil sells out for the first time, or when cultivation factor increases for the first time, to mark the temperature in which that happened, and set and update the cultivation gauge to only decrease if soil does not sell out, and the temperature, the current temperature, is equal or greater to the last the flag temperature. So in other words, when this dude sows at 750, the protocol records that temperature 750 and then checks if the current temperature is higher or equal to that value before decreasing the cultivation factor. In practice, what it does is that it's trying to check again at the same temperature at this but a higher cultivation factor, so higher soil. Is there demand for that temperature for decreasing the capacity?
Thank you. Now, Ford Pinto raised, and that solution would solve the initial problem. But Ford Pinto raised an interesting rebuttal to the solution, which is that let's say that someone now comes in and is willing to sow at 700%, but instead of sowing 10,000 per season at up to 75,000 soil, which was the 750 order. I don't know what the max per season was for the existing order. Let's just use this as an example. They now come in and bid 700, but a max of 200 per season or something. The protocol wants to sell out the 200 per season as quickly as possible, but at the lowest temp possible. And so in the naive solution, we have this problem where the temp will continue to come down, but the cultivation factor will stay high. And so the system will be logging potentially many seasons. If it's only 200 per season, let's say they put 50,000 in the order, we're talking about now 250 seasons for 10 days now. The system is only going to be servicing this one customer. The temp will come down pretty quickly down to 700. But now for 10 days, the system is selling soil at 700, which is efficient from a temp perspective. But the cultivation factor will still be at whatever it was before, such that assuming if delta P stays the same, the system will not be selling out soil regularly.
Oh, sorry, just to reiterate. When a smaller sower comes in and sells out, are you accounting for the case where?
What do you mean, and sells out?
Well, I guess you're accounting for the case where a big cell comes in, the cultivation factor ramps up, and then a new sower comes in.
At a lower temp.
Yes.
And a lower amount per season.
I mean, once that happens, the protocol will mark the new temperature.
Totally.
So
what do you mean it'll mark the new temperature? it'll set the cultivation factor based on the max temp. And it won't
when it sells out.
and it won't lower the cultivation factor until it doesn't sell out at the same temp.
Yeah.
And so this is the problem.
Well, no, I'm sorry. It
Cannot, under the naive solution, lower the cultivation factor until the temp returns to where it was before.
Yeah.
So the problem with that is that the system will be offering more soil than there is demand for. And that's just a bad luck for the protocol.
Yeah, I mean, like, what if we just change, or just maybe to mold out a little bit? Like, why don't we just change the flagging of the temperature to be instead of when soil sells out, just when there's demand for soil, when it's steady increasing. So, like, let's say there's a 75K bid for soil, and we have this solution. The soil, your cultivation factor ramps. So let's say it's like 10% instead of 1%, 10 times more soil. Then a smaller sower comes in and he's sowing a smaller amount, but demand is either increasing or steady there.
What do you mean demand? Demand is steady at the lower amount.
Yeah. Or, no, sorry. Demand is steady at the lower amount. It marks that new temperature, right? And then does the same thing, right? At this point, the threshold has decreased. Or maybe the threshold for selling out should be like the minimum soil issue had the cultivation factor been smaller.
Repeat that?
Like, instead of making the threshold or the flag to be set when the temperature or when the soil sells out, we set it to be enabled. We enable the flag when the amount of soil that was sold in that season is equal to or greater to the amount of soil that would be issued had the cultivation factor been at its minimum. So let's say, like, right now 60, due to this change, the naive solution, the cultivation factor is now 10%, so now 600 soil. Someone comes in and sows like 60.
Mm-hmm.
The protocol, seeing that, the 60 was sown, aka the same amount on the minimum, is seeing that there is demand for soil. Like, it would have sold out had we not had this solution. So since it sees that, it's now trying to decrease the cultivation factor to meet this guy's soil demand.
And you're suggesting that the trigger is that we have increasing demand or increasing or steady demand at a lower temp.
My first suggestion is that I think we can solve this by changing the trigger. And then the second comment is like, what is that trigger?
We can solve this by
We can solve both issues by adjusting when the flag is set rather than letting an additional complexity or redesign. I think that might work.
I'm trying to recall what we said yesterday.
Yeah, put a scavenger of all things. I should say here.
Isn't this exactly what we said yesterday?
No. Well, because the flag, I mean, this flag is like a binary toggle on and off. My flag is like, I'm gonna flag. It's like a high mark. It's like a flag plus the flag.
Why do you need the magnitude?
Well, it's not enough to know whether or not so demand. I think maybe magnitude is not the right word.
We just need to know whether to decrease the cultivation factor or not, right? But we're just suggesting that we don't want to decrease the cultivation factor if we don't have.
We want to decrease the cultivation factor when there is demand for soil.
Well, we don't want to. The case is that we want to not decrease the cultivation factor if there's no demand for soil at the lower amount.
Yes.
And
the case we want is.
I'm just trying to understand the difference between what you propose now and what we talked about yesterday.
Cosmic combination has similar goals. But I feel like it's not as elegant. Okay, so let's reiterate the problem, right? We want to do not.
But aren't they exactly the same?
No. Like toggles, we don't know the temperature.
Yeah, but why do we need to know that?
If soil is steady increasing, you're saying? Because it's like two different things. Like we have a decreased temp, and then we have a like the thing that enables the flag is a temperature decreasing, but the thing that enables the flag or disables it is the soil demand. Like it feels like they should be the same thing.
It is the same thing. It's just a two-season check. It's like we decrease the temp, and now we just want to not. We want to decrease the cultivation factor again, assuming that there's demand at the lower temp.
Yeah, we don't want to decrease it if there is no demand for a lower temp. There is no demand for a lower temp. But
Now we introduce another edge case, which was a good. The temp comes down. Someone sows at the lower temp. But demand is decreasing.
yeah, that's why I feel like let's go here.
And so demand is decreasing and we still increase the temp. That doesn't make sense.
Oh, I think we should do. Oh yeah, I mean, let's see. Start with the soil guy.
Okay.
So, like in this season here, where the soil has increased, if someone has sown, let's say everything else is the same. If someone sows more than 85, it should decrease the cultivation.
Why?
Because we want to reach the guy's soil demand.
Wouldn't it be if wait, what was the amount of soil?
119.
Yeah, and we want to keep it steady if it's in that range.
Maybe it is the same. But you said you don't need the temperature.
I don't know why you need the temperature.
So explain to me the solution again.
The solution is when the
And this is like without the current solution, not naive solution, or is this on top of the naive solution? You set a flat. You set a temp. You set a value to the temperature that was sold.
No,
Oh,
we
this is
just
this is from the current state.
yes. So the guy sows at 750. The order selling at 750. We do two things. We increase cultivation factor and we decrease because the guy sells it out of the soil. We increase the cultivation factor and we decrease the temp. Right? The system is checking. Will the guy sow more or the same amount at a lower temp? If so, it definitely wants to lower the temp. But it also wants to offer more because it's sold out. Increase the cultivation factor, decrease the temp. However, now we have like a test, which may be more than one season. And the reason why it may be more than one season is because we may decrease the temp by 2% and then increase it by 0.5%. So it takes 4 seasons to go back to the same amount. And so we don't. The thing we want to avoid is decreasing the cultivation factor before we go back and test him again. You could make an argument we want to reset the cultivation factor at every 10. I don't think that's efficient, but you could make that argument. So the way to check specifically the thing that we want to handle is we need some flag that says don't decrease the cultivation factor until we go back and check 750 again. But then we need a way to turn the flag off. We need a way to turn the flag off because what if someone else puts it at 700% and now it's showing lower, like but a less lower amount? We don't want to keep the cultivation factor so high as we lower the temp down to 700%. We want to decrease the cultivation factor to find how much they're selling out per season. They're selling out per season. That we can, in practice, still basically sell out the soil. So what we want to do is this flag that was set at 750 when we increase the cultivation factor and decrease the temp because we sold out. We sold out flag that was set. I guess it is set at 750 still. So the naive solution is still working. So if the flag was set at 750.
Yeah, we just want to adjust the flag when demand is increasing, steady.
Exactly. So that if at a lower temp the demand is increasing or steady, then we turn the flag off.
I think are you saying the flag is still initialized when the first time soil sells out? It should just be when the flag should just be set when demand is soil is steady or increasing.
No, it's when it sells out.
For the first, it turns on when it first sells out.
Yes.
And can turn off, but in concurrent flag sets, is the increasing in steady demand turning the flag off or decreasing the flag temp?
Turning the flag off. Once the flag is off, now we can change the cultivation pattern. When the flag is on, we can't change the cultivation pattern.
Like with the new guy selling at 700, doesn't the protocol want to test? Once it goes to 700, it goes to 699. The protocol wants to test 700, not 750.
Yeah, but it will have the flag will already been turned off. Because of steady demand at 749, 748, and then the flag will come back on at whatever temp is such that the cultivation factor is low enough that it sells out. But then the temp will continue to come down, but the cultivation factor will end up staying in the same area.
Okay. So Flag is set at 750. The dude at 700 is selling, but it's not enough to sell out. So thus we're going to decrease the cultivation factor and just turn off the flag and not set the temperature, because assuming the guy is continuing to sow, eventually the cultivation factor will meet this guy's soil demand, and it starts selling. And then once it sells out, then the flag is set.
Again, the flag isn't set to a particular temperature, it's just a flag. And the flag just said,
The flag has to be at a certain temperature. How is he going to know where to check when it's at 750? You have to check at 750.
big guy, yes.
But then the flag is set again. Eventually, when solo sells out on the new guy at 700. Very interesting.
I'm still concerned about this other edge case that I'm going to use.
Where solo demand is decreasing here. Let me write this down before we forget.
I'm going to have to go in just a minute, but I feel like this is
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Great. Flag set. Yeah. First, so let's set flag disabled. And the edge case from this is when solo demand is decreasing.
But just to clarify, you decrease the CF if we have some lower threshold. We're introducing some lower threshold, right? Like of 80% soil demand, where it's like if the soil demand is below this decrease.
Why? I feel like just decreasing is fine.
If it doesn't sell out,
Yeah, because then it's gonna. Our goal is to approach the new dude. Our goal is for the amount of soil issued is approach the guy who's selling 200 a season below 750.
I guess I'm just trying to handle the education with the cultivation factors like +1, -1, +1, -1, +1, -1. I guess it doesn't matter, but it's just a slight inefficiency.
I think this is try to. Oh yeah, this is where like suggested like if it hits 80% of the threshold.
Yeah,
Okay, and then the other case is the decreased soil demand. Another edge case, or what were the edge case you were highlighting, the one that was causing the oscillating CF.
no, there's something else that's like
It's like a dude is sowing soil, but is decreasing, is manipulating the soil issuance or sowing such that demand is decreasing.
yeah, like demand is still decreasing, so we don't reset the flag.
I mean, yeah, if he's decreasing it's he's doing the same behavior as if no soil was being sown at all. Like he's not manipulating anything. Oh, I guess yeah.
So then we'll cover.
So the user, so the guy, yeah. So the guy, yeah. The edge case you're highlighting is that someone's still able to sell in such a way where CF doesn't go down, but the dude who's doing that is incurring a cost of higher temperatures.
But it's, it's that the time will go back up, so that we'll trigger the other guy again, and then the system still works. I'm trying to avoid the situation where someone can like manipulate and keep the cultivation factor up.
Well, yeah, like,
But they can't, because if they decrease the demand for soil, the temp will go up. And then the temp will go back up to the point where the soil sells out again, and the cultivation factor will go back up.
yeah, and it's only I guess you're only limited by the ratio. The number of C's of manipulation is the ratio of the temperature going down and temperature going up. Like right now, if temperature goes down 1% and we go up 0.5%, in those 2 seasons, a user may sell in such a way that demand is decreasing, but in practice, eventually the new soil will come in, the old soil. So
So the temp will go back up and hit the factor, so it's not a problem.
right. All right, I'm set. Boom.
Correct. This is progress. Thank you, everyone, for listening.